Hey, it's Zane here. Welcome back. Hope you're having a great day. I'm doing a bit of yard work today, so just having a little spell here. Thought I'd share a video with you today. And today I really want to talk about the value of Bitcoin, where it could be in the next 10, 15 years. And this is a really interesting thing to talk about because there's a lot of different price predictions out there. We never quite know what the future holds. But what we do know is how Bitcoin has performed historically. And I think it's really good to snapshot some numbers and to really consider the compound annual growth rate, the CAGR of Bitcoin, and what this could mean to your financial future. Your ability to retire early, to retire comfortably, to be financially free, maybe to pay off debt, maybe to get mortgage free. There's a whole lot of reasons why when I talk to people and I try to gauge what their interest level is on Bitcoin and why they're getting involved in it. Chili's just saying hello. People need to have a reason to get involved in Bitcoin. And like Michael Saylor says, Bitcoin is a need to know basis asset. And so people who feel like they don't need to know Bitcoin, they're not worried about protecting their wealth. They're not worried about any attack vectors or threats. So the self-sovereignty aspect isn't a concern to them. And if they're already wealthy and they've succeeded out of the fiat money system, maybe through real estate or share market, stock market, whatever it might be, maybe through building a very successful business, typically people in that boat, they've got no real reason to lean into Bitcoin and to begin learning about it, and that's okay. I believe that eventually everybody's going to come to Bitcoin because even people who are already wealthy and successful, it's only a matter of time before they start to question why is it that they're not allocating to the best performing asset, the fastest horse in the race. And I don't really care, who you are or what situation you're in. If you are extremely wealthy and you continue to see year after year there's an asset over here that is essentially outperforming everything else, at some point you're going to want a piece of that. And so, there's lots of different reasons why people choose Bitcoin. They want to start learning about it. They want to start allocating to it, diversifying. Some people are going all in on Bitcoin, particularly when it comes to things like superannuation. In this country right now, we've got, it would seem, certain attacks going on with superannuation. We had a cyber attack announced yesterday all over the news, major superannuation funds. And if you're not in Australia, superannuation is like our 401k. And these are concerning times because we've got the government talking about bringing in a tax on unrealized capital gains, which is going to apply to superannuation funds that have holdings of $3 million or more, supposedly from next financial year. And so these are times where if you're thinking about securing your retirement, you really need to be paying attention to what's going on with your retirement funds. And I talk to people very often. I do one-on-one consultations with many different people from all walks of life, and it's always fascinating to me to learn that there are people out there who haven't looked at their superannuation funds for 20 years. And because superannuation is something that is way down the road, most people, because it's out of sight, it's kind of out of mind. It's not something they're paying attention to on an annual basis. But I like to encourage people to really take stock of where they're at in their superannuation funds. If you're in an industry super fund, you need to be considering, if you have a significant amount in those funds, you need to be considering SMSFs. SMSFs are a kind of a low-hanging fruit opportunity to really put a significant portion into this long-term savings technology that Bitcoin represents, being the best performing asset on earth. If you consider where the value of Bitcoin could well be in 10, 15 years from now, if that's kind of in your retirement time horizon, then that's definitely something that you should be considering. And so, yes, there are people going all in on Bitcoin. There's people who are going partly into Bitcoin. Some are just biting a little bit off and sort of getting a feel for it, getting comfortable with the process and the idea of it. And all of these levels are totally okay. It just depends on where people are at. And so, even if you're in Bitcoin and you've been in for some time, like I know many of you are, all of us just want to see people that we care about also on this life raft with us. And so sometimes it's difficult to get people to just take that first step. And so it's always about keeping it simple, getting people to, I guess, see the broad numbers on what Bitcoin has done historically, why that's happening, and what that could mean to their financial future. And then when that penny tends to drop, then people are in a position generally where they'll take some form of action, is what I find. But let me know your thoughts on that and what you find when you try to explain to people the benefits of Bitcoin and generally the response that you get. Do people struggle to kind of digest what you're saying, or do you find that you can at least get them to tune into a podcast, read a book or something like that? And I think any of these things are okay. It's just about continuing to kind of share with people you care about the benefits of it, particularly those who you feel really need Bitcoin and what it represents. But let's talk about this 15-year time horizon. If you've got 15 years, I always encourage people to try to get to, as quickly as possible, at least 0.1 Bitcoin. Now, we know today that Bitcoin is priced at around about 85,000 US dollars, which is around about 140,000 Australian dollars. So 0.1 Bitcoin is 10% of that. So we're talking 8,500 USD, 14,000 Australian dollars. And the reason why I like this 0.1 as a starting point. Now, of course, there are many people who have the means and the capital to go far beyond that as a starting point, and I'll get to that in a moment. But I think 0.1 is something that most people who are in their kind of middle years of life have the means to be able to put together in a relatively short space of time. And so 8,500 USD, 14,000 Australian dollars would get you to that 0.1. And we know that over the last 7 years, Bitcoin's compound annual growth rate has been 59%. And so for round figures, I've just plugged into a reverse CAGR calculator, which you can Google, look up online. Just type in reverse CAGR, C-A-G-R calculator, and you'll get this great little tool there where you can start to plug in some numbers and see for yourself what that could mean to you, your starting point now. You can put in various different CAGR numbers, and you can see in 15 years what this could mean to you. Most people I talk to, they're in their mid 40s to late 40s, and so we tend to focus on that 15-year time horizon being their period of time from now until retirement. And so 0.1 Bitcoin in 15 years, just say we continue at this, let's call it 55 to 60% compound growth rate, a 55% CAGR for the next 15 years on 0.1 Bitcoin will be 6 million US dollars, which is just shy of 10 million Australian dollars. So imagine that. Now, we don't know that Bitcoin's CAGR is going to continue at this 55 to 59% level for the next 15 years. We don't know. But if I was taking a bet, I would say that we're going to continue to do at least 50%. And the reason for that is where we are on the adoption curve. The fact that less than 5% of the population has any exposure to Bitcoin. We know that the awareness around Bitcoin being the best performing asset is becoming more and more significant. We know that institutions are now involved and are now hoarding Bitcoin so that they can sell ETFs to their clients, the likes of BlackRock, etc. We had Charles Schwab. Klaus Schwab is from the World Economic Forum. Charles Schwab, big financial manager in the US, one of their representatives just in the last couple of weeks coming out, and they're now saying that, really they're recommending to their financial planning clients that they have 10% allocated to Bitcoin. And so this is what's starting to happen now. And so you can see how all of these tailwinds, not to mention the US government and what they're planning to do in acquiring 1 million Bitcoin over the next 10 years, if they can somehow manage to extract that Bitcoin from current Bitcoin holders, because we know there's not a lot of supply coming down the pike. But all of these tailwinds would suggest that the adoption and the capital flowing into Bitcoin being an absolutely fixed asset, monetary instrument, it's just going to drive up the price. And so for me, I believe that up until, the last 12 months, it's pretty much been a retail-based asset class, whereas now we've got big money now starting to flow into Bitcoin, certainly since the ETFs were approved by the SEC, the Securities and Exchange Commission in the US in January last year. We know that big money is now coming to Bitcoin. And so anybody who is able to secure that 0.1, I think is going to be a really smart move, and they're going to be really thankful that they made that move when they get 10, 15 years down the track from now. If Bitcoin manages to do that 55% CAGR, we know it's going to be worth $6 million USD, $8,500 today. 55% will give you $6 million in 15 years. My question to you, is that enough to fund your retirement? Do you foresee that in 15 years, that if you've got $6 million in your retirement account or in your long-term savings account, because you may not be necessarily putting it in your super or in your retirement account, but let's say that whether it's a retirement account or a long-term savings account, if you were able to scrape together $8,500 US today and it turned into $6 million in 15 years, would you be content with that? Now, you can start to play with these numbers. You can double down. You can go from, instead of 0.1, you can go to 0.25. Now, 0.25 Bitcoin will cost you today $21,000, just over $21,250 to be more exact. But if you can pull together 21,000 USD, which is 0.25 Bitcoin, and you start putting that into the reverse CAGR calculator at 55%, in 15 years it's going to be worth $15 million USD, which is more than 20 million Australian dollars. So, and look, I could be half wrong, I could be 30% wrong. I mean, who knows what the numbers are going to be, but we do know, like I said, that over the last decade, Bitcoin's CAGR has hovered around that 52 to 55, and in the last 7 years, it's been a solid 59, and we know that every other asset class on Earth has been averaging 7 to 8% when you take into account currencies, real estate, stocks, bonds, etc. And so we know that Bitcoin has outperformed everything else by 7 to 8 times during the last 7 years. And so we have to be having some allocation to Bitcoin, surely, if we care about our financial freedom, if we care about the hurdle rate and not just keeping up with inflation, but actually beating it, so that our purchasing power is not just protected, but we're actually in front of the game. We have to be doing that. And so, start at 0.1 if you're currently on 0. If that's too much, start at 0.01. That'll buy you 1 million Satoshis. Okay, it costs you $850 US. But I find most people are able to pull together enough to start at that $8,500 US level, 0.1. And I'd really encourage anybody who is still sitting on 0 to be getting to that point as quickly as they possibly can. Choosing a reputable exchange or full service broker. There's a number of those in Australia. I recommend 2 or 3 of those to people pretty much every week. And then getting it into cold storage in an air-gapped open source Bitcoin only wallet as quickly as possible, and then just holding on for dear life for the next decade to 15 years, and really watch your life improve as this mass adoption really starts to take place, as people really begin to realize what this asset represents, as billions and even trillions of dollars start to flow into Bitcoin. We know at the very least that Bitcoin is going to overtake gold in terms of market cap, which is about a 9-10x from where it currently stands. And so, at the very least, get some allocation to Bitcoin if you haven't already. And if you are already into Bitcoin and you're happy, or you feel like you're happy with your stack, or you haven't added to your stack in some time, maybe it's time to just rewire yourself into acquiring a bit more Bitcoin if you can. And I always like to consider ending the month with a little bit more of a stack of Satoshis than I began the month with. And I think that's a really good mindset and strategy to have, to keep adding to your stack. So I hope you got something from that. Start on that 0.1 when you're talking to people, if you can, and really encourage them to see that, when you look at Bitcoin's trajectory, its adoption curve, its compound annual growth rate, with what this could mean to their financial future over the next 15 years. Hope you got some insight, some value. I want to thank you for listening. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Do you think 0.1 is enough for most people to retire? I think 0.25 would be a really nice sweet spot. Certainly, there's going to be very few people who are full Bitcoin holders, but that would be the ultimate if you can get to that, or encourage people to get to that stage as well. So I'm going to leave it there today. I want to thank you for tuning in. I've got to get on with my day, but please like and subscribe if you haven't already, and please feel free to share this video with anyone you care about who you think might be interested. I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Have a great day. Zane signing out. Bye for now.